Welcome to the Heartful Healing Hub podcast. I am Deanne, your host, frequency intuitive and energetic healing guide, here to hold space for transformation through sound, energy, and sacred storytelling. You're listening to Healed and Whole Stories of Remembering, a special series where I sit with women who've walked through deep health challenges and emerged transformed. These are conversations that are sacred, heart to heart, soul to soul, filled with truth, resilience, and the power of coming home to yourself. May these conversations inspire your own inner healer to awaken. Let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am sitting here with my friend Sarah, and I'm just going to pull up her bio so I can properly introduce her. Sarah Dawkins is a passionate holistic health coach, international speaker, and author of Heal Yourself. She is also a multi-award-winning entrepreneur and the award-winning host of the uplifting podcast, Mind Body Medicine for Self-Healers. With over 20 years experience as a registered nurse, Sarah combines her deep understanding of conventional medicine with her own powerful self-healing journey to create a truly integrative approach, helping clients to restore balance, reclaiming their energy, and create lasting, vibrant wellness. That is awesome. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Thank you, Deanne. It's great to be back with you. I'm great. And you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. All right. So whenever you're ready, I would love to hear your story and how you started on the journey that you're on right now. So
Thank you. I started on this journey through a nurse colleague challenging my core belief about medicines as I was a nurse. So that set me off on a journey of why would a nurse challenge another nurse about the use of pharmaceuticals, over-the-counter drugs at home, because that's all I knew. My mum was a nurse and that's how we were raised. And then I went into nursing school. So for me, there's only doctors and drugs and interventions and hospitals. And that challenge set me on a journey of, on the one hand, looking at what is it about pharmaceuticals that might not be good? And on the other hand, well, what else is there if we're not using the pharmaceuticals? Because I had no idea. So that set me on my journey, tweaking the food that I ate and making small changes to my lifestyle, which I saw then tangible results in my body. I healed eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux in about a month. And I thought, wow, this is amazing, because it was partly mind-blowing because I was never taught any of this information, but to not need that medicine by making those slight changes in my life set me on this healing journey. And the more research I did, the more little tweaks I made, the more I healed in my body, which then caused massive conflict at work, because obviously at work as a nurse, follow doctor's orders, give out pharmaceuticals, see patients through surgical interventions. And ultimately I wanted to help them in their vulnerable times, but I actually felt that I was keeping them in that medical model in the sickness industry, rather than helping them to understand what they could do for themselves, like I'd started doing on their own journey, to help them to step out of that medical model. But of course, I wasn't allowed to have those discussions. So I became really conflicted with my role at work, which led to a dark depression, dark night of the soul, sorry. And And it was through that I actually realized I wasn't aligned with the work that I was doing. Yes, I still wanted to help people, but I wanted to help themselves, not just help them to stay in this medical model.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, and I can totally understand, which is kind of similar to my journey. So yes, absolutely. So you said you healed, or you helped your body heal psoriasis, eczema. Were there any other major health issues that you encountered for yourself or close family members?
Yes, I went on to heal chronic pain, candida, PTSD, underactive thyroid, burnt out adrenal glands, and then the depression with the suicidal thoughts. But it was over a period of maybe 10, 12, 13 years. It wasn't like one after another in a period of months. It was a long journey, partly as I was learning more, because as a nurse, my first go-to was like nutrition, hydration, sleep, and exercise. So all the things in the physical arena, if you like, because I wasn't aware of anything else outside of that until I started making those changes and going down that route.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's like, unfortunately, you've seen that from your own experience, that the medical professionals only look at the body. They don't have, again, unfortunately, there isn't, for the most part. I mean, some there are exceptions, but in that, what they're taught anyway, or any medical professional is, like, this is your body, and that's it. There's not a holistic approach to emotional healing and spiritual healing and everything else that anyway. So I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, you've done some more studying and digging yourself, obviously. So
Yes. And the more I healed, the more I kept researching, and then the more I healed. So it was a journey. And after finding the physical arena, as you like, that I started in, because of finding that first, I went on, because of the depression. I then learned about the mental health aspects, and the healing of that required meditation, mindfulness, and gratitude. And it was through those practices that I found the spiritual pillar, of coming home to myself. Who am I authentically? Reconnecting with that little voice inside of me. And it was when I went and did my coach training, I found the last pillar, the emotional pillar, which was huge. And that had a huge impact in my healing. And even as far down the line as I was with what I'd healed, that massively impacted everything back in my past.
Yeah, I can so relate to your story. So like, and as you said, it was over a course of several years. I mean, it takes us years to get to a certain point. We can't expect anything to happen overnight. So most of the time anyway. But no, that's wonderful that you're sharing this. So since then, like okay, so let me ask you here, what modalities and tools have you learned, and are you now using in your own practice or with people that you speak with?
So with my clients, I use compassionate conversations, and help them to see what's happened in their life, how it's impacted them, but really how they're holding what's happened, because that's the pivotal point for healing. On top of that, I've got breath work, somatic work, touch, and it depends on the person outside of that. Some people like to be outside, others like to be inside. Some people like to run, other people like to walk. It's more a case of tapping into what people like to do to move their body, because the energy that's stuck within us, causing us symptoms, needs to move. And for us to move that energy, we have to tap into it and move our body as well. So whatever my clients like to do to move their body, I encourage them to do a lot more of that.
That's wonderful. Yes, because also it's like, I don't know if you see clients in person or if they're mostly online, but I mean, everybody has their own, as you said, ways of moving their bodies. So it's like, I love dancing for one thing, but anyway, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, with the vacuum cleaner, just dancing around.
That's right. So do you work online mostly with online clients, or is that
the majority of time? Yes, I've had a few clients locally, but I live in a tiny weeny village up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, most of my clients are online.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So this journey, what do you feel it's awakened within you?
I think it's brought me back to who I was, who I am now. Because as a child, I was always a bit free, if you like, a bit hippie, a bit did what I wanted. You know, I chose what I wanted to do. Apart from, I just obviously abide to my parents' rules of the house and of the coming in times, obviously. But it's more, the healing journey's brought me back to who I was, underneath all the layers that I've put on to who I became, as in to fit in, to be liked, to feel a valued part of a community, a group. So I've peeled all those layers back, found who I was as a child, and built on that with doing more of what I like to do. And it's the healing journey's brought me back to that. Whereas before I'd started my healing, I'd gone through my journey. I only wanted to be a nurse in my life, and I'd got to be Sarah the nurse. And in my head, I was Sarah the nurse. And I never saw myself as just Sarah, because who was she? You know, Sarah was a nurse. And to step away from that was hugely challenging as well, because I had to find out who I was. So as part of my healing journey, it's brought me home to my authentic self.
That's wonderful. That's the one thing that I've learned over the years as well is when we say I am, it's really like ingrained into us. Like or if it's I did a video once about specifically that, because some people say, you know, I am diabetic, or I am, you know, whatever disease. And when they say that, they're keeping it close to them. They're actually like making it part of their own personality, who they are. And I'm like, no, please don't do that.
Yeah.
So
I say the same. It's like when you say I am, and whatever disease you've got, your subconscious mind's going, oh, that's mine then. So I'm holding on to that. So it's more challenging then to heal, because you've aligned with that disease.
Yeah. And are you finding a lot of your clients kind of have that frame of mind? Is that you find it difficult to work with them when they say, like, for example, I'm saying diabetic because that's what my mother was, was dealing with. But
yeah, not all of them. Some are in the I am, you know, this is who I am. And so we have that compassionate conversation around, well, who could you be if you didn't have that disease? You know, what do you think could be possible for you? And can you let go of, because I hate diagnoses. Some people like them because it's like, okay, so all these symptoms have come together and now the doctor said I've got this diagnosis, so they can like hang their identity on that diagnosis. And I turn it around and go, so tell me what your symptoms are, because that's where your message is, in your symptom, not in your diagnosis. So we talk about the symptoms, and I help them to see underneath the symptom what their body might be trying to say to them through that symptom.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've found over the years, is that those symptoms are signals from our body. They are not, you know, they're just there to tell us, okay, hi, there's a problem here. There's a little, you know, you need to pay attention. So it's not I understand again why the medical doctors and medical professionals, they put symptoms together, and it's people need, I found anyway, that people need to have a story, and they need to know what's going on, and they need, like, okay, these are my symptoms. What's wrong with me? Yeah. But yeah, it's the symptoms.
Absolutely. And we can get stuck in the story that we tell ourselves about our symptoms and about our past. And that, as you well know, is part of our job, to help them unpick that story and work out where that story came from, what underpins it, why they tell themselves that story, and how it could look like if they told themselves a different story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the emotional component in there is, as we mentioned earlier, it's more often than not looked into by the medical professionals, and it is such a vital, anyway, in my own experience, it's such a vital component of a person's well-being that you can't ignore it. And
no,
it's yeah.
And for me, the emotional aspect of it is the biggest part. Once we can work with that emotion that's stuck in the body, expressing in a symptom, we can get to the bottom of what's really going on, what it's trying to say, and then work with that and heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what would be what would be a message that you would like to share? Someone's listening to our conversation and they're relating to what we're saying. So what do you feel would be a message that you would like to share with them?
I would say take a moment and sit with yourself and just breathe and relax. And then ask your body, because it's always listening, ask it what it needs. And quite often we will get a word or a phrase or a picture in our mind. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get nothing. And then maybe the following day we'll hear some lines on a song. We'll see something on a billboard or on a bus or something that we'll go, oh, that makes sense. So it's just about, to understand the symptom wisdom, we have to come back into our body. And a lot of us have learnt to dissociate and take our mind out of our body as children as a survival skill. And there's nothing wrong with that. We did that to survive. It was totally normal and natural. But if we can bring our mind back into our body and just center ourselves and ask it, what is it do you need? A lot of the times, most of us will know already. We need to change our job. We need to change our partner. We need to leave the home. We need to live in a different area. We need to take some time out. We need to have some fun. We need to go out for a walk. We need some quality time together. There's so many things, big and little. And for the majority of people, they will actually understand and know. But sometimes some of those bigger things can be too frightening to admit. But when we admit that, it helps to resolve our symptoms.
Yeah, two thoughts that popped up in my mind when you were talking. One is, for a lot of people, changes, like big changes, are very difficult, very challenging.
Yes.
So that's one thing that holds them back. And I totally forgot what the other one was. One of those moments. Is there anything else that you would like to share, either from your own experience or whatever thoughts you might have?
I'd like to share my podcast, if that's okay. Because it's called Mind Body Medicine for Self-Healers. It's on most of the podcast channels as well as YouTube. And I share people who've healed themselves. Many of these people have healed things that doctors said they couldn't heal, that were chronic, lifelong, and some of them life-threatening. I've just interviewed a gentleman a few days ago who healed stage 3 pancreatic cancer himself. And And the idea of my podcast, like yours, is to give people hope that good things can happen, hope that they can heal themselves. And by listening to my guests that I interview on my podcast, they hear what my guests have healed, and my guests talk about how they've healed, so that the listeners get an idea of what they can do for themselves. Because the person that I used to be until I was 41, I had no idea what alternative and holistic healing meant, because I only knew doctors and medicines and hospitals. And there's a lot of people like the old me still who don't know what's available. So by sharing all these guests and all this information, it A, shows people that healing happens, and B, they can see a real person discussing what they had and how they healed as proof that they've actually healed themselves.
Yes, and I was very fortunate to be on your podcast as well. So
you were, and thank you so much.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Reciprocity here. All right. So obviously, evidently, all your podcast info and everything will be in the show notes. So, any last words, madam?
To your audience, please just believe in yourself. I love the quote from Henry Ford, and it says, if you believe you can, or you believe you can't, you are right. So please believe in you, that you can, and use that to move your life forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more with you. So that's one of the beautiful things, beautiful connection that we have, is that we have so much in common in our way of thinking and doing. So I so greatly appreciate you being here today, and thank you for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you for spending time with us inside the Heartful Healing Hub. If this story moved you, please consider sharing this episode or leaving a comment. Your words help others find this sacred space. If you or someone you love has a healing journey to share, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you would enjoy a gentle way to unwind after listening, visit the show notes to download your free tea ritual guide, Sip and Soften, a soul-soothing gift to nourish your inner healer. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust what has always been within you. And remember, you are whole, you are healing, you are home.